I know. Subnautica fans, put away your pitchforks and torches. Okay, now for those who don't know what I'm talking about, Subnautica Below Zero is generally and reasonably not as good of a game as what came before. And especially nothing compared to what we're getting now. Still waiting for Subnautica 2 since my potato PC and Switch can't get early access, nor do they have the storage for it. This also will technically count as a wish list for Subnautica 2. As for why Subnautica Below Zero is so bad, it has a myriad of problems, such as a mid-story that makes even Sonic Forces look tolerable. The fact every hostile creature will only attack you unless you're like 5 feet in front of their face. So, with the exception of one in my partial playthrough, it's the brute shark. The fact gold in the early game is almost impossible to find, and of course the reduced speed that makes it feel like I'm playing as Queso. Now all these features is why I kind of gave up on playing a proper run and not, say, a creative mode run or custom mode, because if I get bored, I'll want to deal with a brute shark pushing me around a bit, but doing no damage. Since Below Zero is best, in my opinion, for creative mode. Now, despite all the bullcrap, there are some stark improvements that have either been or will be improved on in Subnautica 2 in its final release, and somehow are better than what Subnautica 1 has. And I will list them all in linear order. Below Zero's graphics have much more of a sheen than the first game, since metal now looks shiny, the lighting feels much more lively, and every creature in Below Zero pops out in design elements better than the first. That is best shown in the creatures in both games, like the bladderfish, hoopfish, and boomerangs. Bases have more shine, and also the sound design in the prawn suit is amazing as heck, and it really feels like it is truly limitless power. Subnautica 2 has already exceeded this, although it has some of Subnautica 1's glossiness, so it still has more fidelity than the first one in looks. I've seen from actual marine biologists who've played both games, and as an aspiring science fiction author right here, but the creatures in Below Zero seem more scientifically accurate and more believable than their original counterparts. And also the designs look better. The only thing in Subnautica 1 that triggered these feelings were the Sea Emperor Leviathan and Sea Treaders, since both were insanely alien. But even the Leviathans in Below Zero instill awe in their appearance more than the first game, like the Vent Garden, which is a colossal life form that seems analogous to crinoids. In its behaviors, the Calycerit looks genuinely menacing, but is much more functional as a creature than a screaming oarfish of death that we know as the Reaper Leviathan. Most of the creatures named to Sector Zero feel like something we could see on Europa. The only two that kind of falls flat is the ugliness of the Frozen Leviathan and Cthulhu's pet fish known as a squid shark, which I guess it makes sense if Altera was hybridizing life forms like an earth shark and crab squid, but it just sucks. Stranger Things Demogorgon looking motherfuck. Using the setup for base building in Subnautica 1, but now with what is perfected with the new content, such as a moon pool for the sea truck, an original room to control base power and color and lighting, and more from the control room. But also interior design has been perfected, well, with one loss. We have lost the Markiplier bobblehead. But yeah, the interior adds some better things, like the fridge. For you survival players, it stops food from spoiling. the Recyclotron, which works as a better trash can since it lets you break down items into their original components, so you can, craft other new stuff. The custom bedsheet variants for your bed variety are also of note, and even some interior add-ins solely for aesthetic improvements, like the executive desk, which has a more wooden look than the regular desk. The office toy being a Newton's cradle that you can interact with, and much more. I'm hoping all these items in this section will make it into Subnautica 2, since if there's no executive desk or custom bed designs, I am certain I'll absolutely crash out. I can live without the Recyclotron, since I don't know if the Axum would have iron cubes to begin with. Finally, on to the last section, yapping about Below Zero. I mean, despite the crappy execution, but getting to encounter an actual architect, let alone the one who decided to yoink the sea dragon egg, and is therefore indirectly responsible for the Kara bacteria getting out into the ecosystem of 4546b, and even getting a snippet of their homeworld. I bet for Subnautica fans, this was the Metroid fan equivalent of seeing an actual living Chozo! Anyways, before I head off to college and vanish for a few months, please subscribe so the algorithm sees that people want to see my content, and I might do a video on Subnautica or Metroid lore in the future if I have time. Thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed the video. Have a look at some of my other content, or wait a bit, I don't mind. Hopefully you enjoyed this.